What's up guys, Learning with Rich here. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to create profile for your retaining wall, and I'm also going to show you how to model a retaining wall. Alright, so let's do this. So we're going to create a profile. So from our families, I'm going to select new. So you can do this in lower version. I'm just using Revit 2025 now. So I'm going to select new. Alright, and then on our family templates, let's go inside of English Imperial, or you can also use metric unit. Okay, so I'm going to use Imperial here. So let's look for profile since we're going to create a profile. Let's double click profile.rft, which is this one. So double click that. Alright, so there you go. So the profile that we will be creating, very simple, just a rectangle. Okay, so we're going to create a rectangular profile. So to start, I'm going to create a reference plane. So let's click this, and then using the pick lines option, so let's select that one. So I'm going to specify the offset distance here of let's say 1 foot. So 1, and then I'm going to offset this reference plane here to the right, and then I'm going to create another one for the offset. I'm going to type 10 feet, and then I'm going to offset this below like this. There you go. All right, okay, and then after that I'm going to extend this all the way here, and then let's click this reference plane and then unpin temporarily so we can extend it, and then after that you can pin it again. There you go. Alright, so now from here we can already create series of lines that will create our rectangular profile. Okay, so I'm going to create line, and then using the line tool, so I'm going to pick here 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then after that I'm going to select here modify. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a dimension and then parameters. Okay, so let's create our align dimension. So let's click that one. So I'm going to pick one here to here. Okay, so that one, and then after that I'm going to create another dimension here. So that one, and then after that I'm going to select here modify. Okay, now to create the parameter, I'm going to create parameter here. So click family types. So let's create parameters. So I'm going to select here new parameter. So I want to create a parameter that will control the wall height. So I'm going to call this wall height. Okay, so wall height, discipline is common, data type is length, and then we're going to group it under dimensions. So type parameter. Okay, so I'm going to select here okay. Okay, so this wall height is going to be this one. Okay, and then after that we are going to create our face angle parameter. So I'm going to create a new one here. So click that. Okay, so here face angle. Okay, so discipline is common, but the data type, so I'm going to select your angle, and then group parameter under dimensions. All right, then after that I'm going to select here okay. So for a temporary value, I'm just going to put an angle here of 3 degrees, and then wall height, so let's say 10 feet, or let's say 5. Okay, and then I'm going to select here okay. So now I'm going to apply it here. So this is going to be my wall height. So let's click this, and then after that You click that, and then you click this drop down arrow. You should be able to see now the wall height that you have created. So let's select wall height. There you go. So as you can see, it's now changed to 5 feet. So we can be sure of that our wall height parameter is working. Okay. So let's try our wall height. So let's say if I change this to 8 feet, and then I select apply. So as you can see, it updates, right? And then I'm going to select here. Okay. Now, so what I want to do is I want to automate my profile width. This one. So this one, that's my profile width. Okay, the base profile width. Now, for me to be able to get that, just remember your Pythagorean theorem. So you have your angle here. Okay, and then you have the opposite and then the adjacent. So that is tangent, right? So tangent is opposite over adjacent. The opposite value, which is your profile width, over your wall height. So that's the formula, SOHCAHTOA. TOA. So if you remember TOA, so that is tangent theta, or tangent angle equals opposite over adjacent. So we need to create another parameter. Okay, so the parameter that we will be creating is the profile width for this. Okay, so to do that, so I'm going to select family types again, and then let's create new parameter. Okay, so I'm gonna call this profile width. Okay, so again, type parameter, common, length, dimension. Okay. Okay, so for my profile width, I'm going to use the formula here. Okay, so instead of typing a value, I'm going to create a formula. Okay, so the formula from the tangent equals opposite over adjacent. So since we're looking for the profile width, so it will going to be like this. Wall height, oops, GHT, and then times tangent face angle. So make sure you are typing the exact parameter value here. So if your face angle here is capital F and capital A, so make sure you also type here capital F, capital A, because if you type this like small letter F and then you enter, so Revit will not be able to find that parameter face angle, okay, because it's different. So it should be the exact name of your parameter, okay? So make sure this is capital F, and then make sure your wall height is also the same. So capital W and capital H. Okay, so that's it. So that's the formula. Okay, so this is based on the Pythagorean theorem. Tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. Okay, so this is how you derive to get your profile width. So I'm going to select here OK, apply. Oops, hang on. Oh, okay, so we need to include another bracket here. So bracket there. Yeah, and then apply. There you go. So make sure your formula is correct, like that. Then okay. There you go. And we're now going to apply it here. So select this. So this will gonna be our profile width. And then let's apply that to our profile width. There you go. So it's working. So let's say I go back again to my family types. Let's say I change my angle to 6 degrees. So if I select here, apply. So as you can see, it changes here. If I change my height, so let's say 10 feet, select here, apply. There you go. So it's all working now. So our profile is working. So I'm going to select here, OK. And then I'm going to select, save my profile. Save it in my retaining wall folder. Retaining wall profile, and then let's select here save. So that's it. So now the next thing that we'll be doing, we are going to test this into a project. Okay, so we are going to create a new project. So I'm going to use a structural template, and then I'll select here OK. There you go. So by the way, this structural template is in metric, and then our profile here was created in imperial template, but that's fine. Okay, so let's go back to my project. So let's go to structure. I'm going to create the structural wall. Let's click that one. So the default here is basic wall generic 200 mm. So I'm going to change this, right? And I'm going to duplicate this one. So I want to create a new type of wall. So let's select this. And then let's say I'm going to type here retaining wall 200 mm. Okay. And then we are going to edit the structure. So let's select edit. And then for us to be able to apply the profile that we have created earlier, so we need to activate our sweep. So for you to activate the sweeps, so make sure you change the view. Change that from floor plan to section. So once you select section view, you can see now the sweeps is now available. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the height to, let's say 10 feet. 10, and then the feet symbol, that one, so 10 feet. And then after that, so let's go to the sweeps. So let's click that. So as you can see, it automatically converted to 3048 millimeters, our 10 feet. So we are going to load now the profile that we created. So load profile, and then let's select the profile that we created. Select your open, and then let's add. So let's add. There you go. And then let's change the profile. So let's click that, and then let's select the profile that we created. So the default value here is base, from base. So if you select here OK, so as you can see, our profile is below. It's on the base part of the wall. So you need to make it top. So let's go back to sweeps. So change this from top. Click that, top, and then apply. Okay, and there you go. So there's now the preview of our retaining wall. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select here OK. So our sample height is 3048, so that's fine. So OK, select OK, right? And then let's change the value here. So 3048 too, so that the wall is the same. Okay, that's it. So let's try. So I'm going to pick my first point, and then I'm going to pick my second point. As you can see, it's working, right? Let's click here. There you go. And then let's select here, modify. So let's check this one out in 3D view. So let's select the default 3D view, and let me just hide my levels. Hide. Okay, there you go. So it's working. So let's type SD for shaded view, and then let's click one wall, and there you go. See? So there's our retaining wall. Okay. And I can also go to my structure tab and then create here a wall foundation. So let's click this one, click, and then I'll change the type here to bearing footing. Let's click that, and I can hover my pointer, I can press tab and then click. There you go. And then I select here, modify. Okay. Right, so let's say I would like to adjust my angle here. Okay, my profile. So for you to be able to adjust your profile, what you can do is go to your project browser and then look for families. Expand your families here, and then let's look for the profiles. profiles, expand the profiles. Let's look for the retaining wall that we have created. Retaining wall profile. Expand that and then double click your retaining wall profile. So let's double click, and then you will be able to go to the type properties and then change the dimension here. So let's say you don't want 6 degrees. So let's say I just want 3 degrees. And then I want the height to be like 5,000. So I'll type 5,000 for the profile, and let's see what will happen. So I'll select here, apply, and then I'll select here, okay. There you go. Okay, so now the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to select the walls. So hover my pointer, press tab, and then click. And then let's go to the properties. Let's change the base offset. So make it 5,000 as well. 5,000, and then I select here, apply. There you go. Then click outside. Okay. Right. So that's it for this simple exercise of creating your profile for your retaining wall and how to model your retaining wall. So hopefully you learned something from this video. If you have any questions or suggestions or comments, you can put it on the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.